I'm good?
So your mic is on.
Okay.
From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio.
Okay.
You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hi, my name is Isaac Newson, and welcome to the 10 o'clock morning news. Here's Jocelyn Chappelle, assignment producer, on what's to come for today's news.
Thanks, Isaac. In today's news, wildfires across northeastern BC are worsening as heavy winds are expected the rest of the week. Also, the Liberal government announced $390 million to renew their gun and gang violence program this morning. Also, making headlines this morning, the BC housing audit will be released at 11 a.m., and our reporters will be covering that. I believe you have more on that story, Isaac?
I do. Thank you, Jocelyn. Starting in Canada, where an audit made on the Housing Ministry of BC last March is coming to the public this morning. Last July, Premier David Eby, who was also the housing minister at the time, called for the audit after a scary report came out that outlined all that's wrong with BC's current housing market. Issues at the Crown Corporation were the biggest concern covered in the report. The audit was completed and delivered to the provincial government in March, but details are only being made public today. David Eby is holding a press conference at 11 a.m. The Canadian Liberal Party has renewed its multi-million-dollar federal gun and gang violence program. Early this morning, Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino made the announcement that the plan is to invest hundreds of millions into the Guns and Gangs Action Fund.
These federal funds will be distributed to the provinces and territories for the purpose of giving law enforcement the additional people, resources, and supports that they need to get the job done and to get the job done safely.
The federal government announced the program in 2017 in order to tackle rising gun violence and gang activity in Canada. 2 wildfires in northeastern BC have nearly doubled in size in the past 24 hours. The Boundary Lake fire has grown up to 5,000 hectares, and the Red Creek has also grown to almost 3,000 hectares. Fires in Boundary Lake and Red Creek, 1,300 kilometers northeast of Vancouver, are aggressive, according to District Board Chairman Leonard Hebert. The region has also declared a state of local emergency after already having the majority of the community evacuate. Sticking with wildfires, where today Justin Trudeau will be speaking with Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith about a possible federal aid for crews battling over 100 wildfires in the province. About 29,000 people have been evacuated from their homes, but evacuation orders are slowly being lifted. This morning, Defense Minister Anita Anand spoke to the press about potential federal assistance.
I know that my colleague Minister Blair has been in touch with the Alberta government in terms of potential ways in which we can assist, and we will remain ready to receive any request for assistance.
Fires have already spread to about 380,000 hectares across the province. Canadian federal government have announced that King Charles will be the new face of the $20 bill. At the coronation celebration at Queen's Park, it was celebrated with gun circles and drumming circles that Charles would become the face of the bill. Many Canadian politicians were not in attendance, including Jagmeet Singh and Pierre Poilievre. Hundreds gathered in Orillia, Ontario, hometown of singer and songwriter Gordon Lightfoot, to mark the passing of the Canadian musician. The performer was known for his poetic lyrics on songs such as The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald and If You Could Read My Mind. John Robbins came to the show, and his wife, and the entourage of friends. Robbins says he's been seeing Gordon Lightfoot all his life.
We've seen him in Massey Hall, we've seen him in Sault Ste. Marie. In fact, when the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk, we lived in Sault Ste. Marie. So it brings back memories of the storm, which was so bad that night.
Lightfoot died Monday at the age of 84. And now, a man who threw gravel at Justin Trudeau at a 2021 Freedom rally has been sentenced to 90 days house arrest. Shane Marshall, a St. Thomas, Ontario man, pled guilty to assault, and the jury found his actions not an act of showing his political beliefs. Trudeau was not injured by the gravel, but the bus he arrived in took heavy damage. Defense Minister Anita Anand is not denying a media report that Canada is looking to become part of a trilateral military and intelligence sharing deal between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Anand was asked directly today whether Canada has officially requested to join the alliance known as AUKUS, as the Globe and Mail has reported.
We are highly interested in continuing to work with our allies, including Australia, the United States, and the UK, in terms of our capabilities in advanced technologies, in innovation, in AI, and quantum technologies.
The AUKUS agreement will see the US and Britain help Australia develop a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines in response to growing concerns about China. Switching internationally now, where a New York jury is hearing closing arguments from the lawyer for writer Jean Carroll. Carroll has said that Trump raped her in a department store in 1996. After Trump heard about the allegations, more followed, says Carroll's lawyer.
The burden, of course, is on E. Jean Carroll to show that Trump battered her, and the jury will have to consider whether it was rape, as she asserts, whether it was sexual assault, whether it was forcible touching, and then the jury will consider whether it's statements like "she's not my type" and "liar" and "con job" and "nut job" and "hoax" and all the other things that he said about her amount to defamation.
Now Carroll is seeking compensatory and punitive damages for defamation. Ukrainian air defenses have shot down over 35 Iranian-made drones over Kiev in Russia's latest attack. Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko says he's happy with the anti-missile system and how it worked.
Kamikaze drones fly to direction in our hometown, and thanks to anti-missile system, everyone was shot down.
Drone wreckage damaged a two-story apartment building, and falling debris has injured more than 5 people in the capital. U.S. President Joe Biden is pulling back Trump's immigration laws following a surge at U.S. borders after COVID restrictions fully vanish. Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas says lawmakers must deal with these problems.
We urge Congress to fix our broken immigration system.
But the White House says a Republican bill being passed this week may harness immigrants' ability to get to the U.S., and should the bill pass, President Biden says he would veto it. The driver of an SUV that crashed into people at a bus stop in Texas, killing 8, has been charged with manslaughter. Brownsville Police Chief Felix Sauceda identified the driver as a 34-year-old man.
George Alvarez is a Brownsville local with an extensive rap sheet. He has been formally charged and arraigned with 8 counts of manslaughter, 10 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Authorities believe Alvarez lost control after running a red light yesterday morning and plowed into a crowd of Venezuelans outside a migrant center. As Turkey heads for presidential and parliamentary elections this weekend that are shaping up to be the strongest to presidential Recep Tayyip Erdogan in his 20 years as leader, complaints are growing about the fairness of the vote. Erdogan receives far more coverage on state-controlled media than his opponent. The government has also extended its reach over social media, and the opposition says the state election council sides with the ruling party in disputes, leading to fears of electoral irregularities. And to the weather now, where Vancouver can be expecting a week full of sunshine. Monday to Sunday this week is full of high teens and low 20s in temperature, and we're expected to have sun all day, every day. So go out, hit the beach, and don't forget your sunscreen. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Isaac Newson for 1680.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, I'm Kobe Smith, and here are your sports headlines. Your top story is the NHL Draft Lottery is happening today. Heading into the draft, Vancouver Canucks have 3% chance of getting the top pick. 16 teams that didn't make the playoffs battle for the top pick. The big question is, who will get Connor Bedard? He finished with 71 goals and 143 points in 57 games in the WHL. The Anaheim Ducks have a 25% chance of getting the top pick. Behind them is the Columbus Blue Jackets with 13% chance. The Toronto Maple Leafs were pushed to the brink of elimination last night when Sam Reinhart scored at 3:02 in overtime to give the Florida Panthers a 3-2 win to take a commanding 3-0 series lead in their best-of-7 series. Game 4 is on Wednesday in Florida, and here is the final call in overtime.
Reinhardt here on the near wing. Backpedals a bit towards center, then heads in over the Toronto line, up the right side, a long shot wide. Rims around, Anton Lundell down behind the net. Reinhardt wraps it around, he scores! Sam Reinhardt, the overtime winner! And the Panthers take a 3-0 lead in this series against Toronto. 3-2 the final!
There is only one game tonight. Edmonton Oilers face the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 3 of their best-of-7 series. The Oilers are looking to take a 2-1 series lead. They dominated their last meeting, winning 5-1 on Saturday. Leon Draisaitl scored 2 goals. He leads the playoffs with 13 goals in 8 games. The Seattle Kraken beat Dallas Stars 7-2 to take a 2-1 series lead. Jordan Eberle sparked a 5-goal outburst. Here is the call with his first goal.
Now Matty Beniers, high slot. Cartier shooting. That falls. Heiskanen. Eberle puts in a rebound. Scores! The initial shot catching Miro Heiskanen right in the face, and it falls right to Jordan Eberle. He'll finish the play. He'll check on Heiskanen. Kraken on top, 1-0.
On the NBA schedule, there are only 2 games. The Miami Heat host the New York Knicks, and the Heat are looking to take a 3-1 series lead in the best-of-7 series. Tip-off is at 4:30 p.m. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to go up 3-1 when they host the defending champs, Golden State Warriors. The Phoenix Suns beat the Denver Nuggets 129-124 to tie up the best-of-7 series. The top scorers were Nikola Jokic with 53 points for the Nuggets, and Kevin Durant with 36 points for the Suns. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers went into overtime with James Harden with the winning bucket. He finished the game with 42 points. That series is tied at 2 apiece. The Denver Nuggets remain hopeful that center Nikola Jokic receives no additional punishment by the league after he made contact in the stands with Phoenix Suns owner. A fine from the league could be in line for Jokic or no punishment at all, but a suspension isn't out of possibility either. In the MLB, the Toronto Blue Jays have a day off today after a win over the Pittsburgh Pirates 10-1. The Blue Jays are on a 3-game winning streak. They take the field tomorrow against the Philadelphia Phillies. And Bryce Harper and Justin Verlander are back from injuries for the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. That's good news for both teams. They both have been really struggling. Harper had Tommy John surgery in November and returned for the Phillies on Tuesday. He homered on Saturday. Verlander made his season debut for the Mets on Thursday after dealing with a muscle span in his back. He allowed a couple solo home runs, first against Detroit before shutting down the Tigers out for the next 4 innings. Golf superstar Tiger Woods has been accused of sexual harassment from Erica Herman, his ex-girlfriend. Herman was in a 6-year relationship with Tiger Woods up until October 2022. Reporter
Erica Herman, who dated Woods for nearly 6 years, writes in a new court filing, Woods decided to pursue a sexual relationship with his employee, then, according to him, forced her to sign an NDA about it or else be fired from her job. Woods' attorney responding to a previous.
When the waters hit the Fraser Valley, it left people's homes and livelihoods underwater. There are many who are still waiting for their government assistance. Nick Warmerdam, the owner of the Tulip Festival, is one of these people.
I thought I had flood insurance, and we found out after.
Headlines. Thanks for listening. I'm Kobe Smith, 1680 The Crow.
When the waters hit the Fraser Valley, it left people's homes and livelihoods underwater. There are many who are still waiting for their government assistance. Nick Warmerdown, the owner of the Tulip Festival, is one of these people.
I thought I had flood insurance, and we found out after the flood that the insurance didn't cover flood, so there's a bit of we're still in discussions with our insurance agent about that one.
As disastrous as the 2021 floods were, this was not the first time the Sumas Prairie has been hit.
There was a flood here from the Nooksack River 30 years ago. When that flood happened, the water didn't get past the dike that stops it from coming in here. So for the last 30 years, all of the people, the farmers in this area have been waiting for the government to do something, and we're still waiting.
The Sumas Prairie is located in what is called a floodplain. As a result, the homes do not get flood insurance. Robert Larson, the project manager for EB Waters, says these homes have a hand in this type of disaster.
The first problem has been that we've put those things in the way of the water. When we look at some of the issues that happened in Abbotsford, those issues happened because we decided to put things in the floodplain, and then we protected ourselves from the flood. But then when those protections failed, there was catastrophic flooding.
Despite this whole experience, Nick is trying to remain positive and encourage others to do the same.
It was it wasn't a nice thing to have to go through, but I'm I'm still here and I'm still alive. And
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. I'm Jake McGrail with your Crow News at 11. Premier David Eby and the BC Minister of Housing Ravi Kahlon are meeting with the media right now in Victoria. This press conference will share information from the forensic audit done on BC Housing. This audit was called after an independent report on the agency last year raised a number of concerns, including a lack of oversight on spending. The provincial government received the completed audit in March. Also this morning, the province announced it will provide $500,000 to Métis Nation BC in order to support mental wellness gatherings. There are to be 2 public events in the fall. The first is for Métis girls and is meant to provide community and cultural teachings to prevent self-harm. The second is for all Métis people and is meant to be a safe space to discuss alcohol use and ways communities can become healthier. These initiatives will be entirely led by Métis elders and other community members. Looking at the northeast of BC, the wildfires at Red Creek and Boundary Lake continue to grow. The Wildfire Service says it has made progress in containing the Boundary Lake fire, and there is no longer an evacuation order in that area. There is still an evacuation order at Red Creek, as the fire nearly doubled in size yesterday. Wildfires are raging in Alberta as well, and Premier Danielle Smith is meeting with Justin Trudeau today to ask for increased help to fight them. Moving on now to national news, the federal government has renewed its anti-gun and gang violence program. Close to $400 million will be distributed between the provinces and territories over the next 5 years to fund various initiatives. Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino says he will also be introducing new legislation soon to try and tackle these issues.
I can also assure everyone that Minister Lametti and I will be introducing new legislation to make changes to our bail system in the very near future, because we know we need to address repeat violent offenders, especially those who use guns and weapons.
The government previously invested over $320 million from 2017 to 2022 to combat gang and gun violence. BC used much of its portion of the funding to fund the province's organized crime agency. In international news, the Biden administration announced this morning they are working on new legislation to help airline passengers just weeks away from peak travel season. Proposed changes would force airlines to fully cover meals and hotel rooms for passengers stranded for reasons within the airline's control. Currently, the only compensation airlines are required to provide if they cause a cancellation are refunding the ticket and covering some expenses, like booking a new flight. This comes a month after Canada proposed tweaks for its own airline rules. The Canadian legislation would change the onus for claiming compensation for airline cancellations or delays. Under the current rules, the passenger has to prove they should receive compensation. The new rules would make it so the airline would have to prove why they don't have to provide compensation. In entertainment news, we're now a full week into the Writers Guild of America strike. As Jathan Nathanson of ABC News reports, we're starting to see some more tangible effects of this action.
The writer's strike seriously altered a major award show Sunday night. The MTV Movie and TV Awards essentially transformed from a live star-studded spectacle to a pandemic-style clip show, with Jennifer Coolidge offering a taped acceptance speech for the Comedic Genius Award and showing support for the WGA.
Almost all great comedy starts with great writers.
We also found out this weekend that shows including the upcoming final season of Stranger Things could be delayed. They were about to start production but had to shut down. Also, Mahershala Ali's Marvel movie Blade reportedly got the distinction of being the first film to be delayed because of the strike. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
The Writers Guild of Canada has expressed its support for its American counterparts. Members of the Canadian Guild are barred from taking on any work that falls under WGA jurisdiction. Looking now at the weather, we have a
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports.
Good morning, I'm Adam Kloss, and here are
Crow.
Okay. Good morning, I'm Adam Kloss, and here are all your top sports stories. Your top story today, the NHL Draft Lottery is set to commence this afternoon as the Vancouver Canucks hope to take the first overall selection. Coveted prospect and Vancouver native Connor Bedard is the consensus number 1 pick and could be a generational talent for the team lucky enough to draft him. Although a string of good play left the Canucks with a 3% chance at the first overall pick, fans are still hopeful that Bedard will get to stay in Vancouver next season. Speaking of NHL hockey, the Toronto Maple Leafs were pushed to the brink of elimination last night with a 3-2 overtime loss against the Florida Panthers. The loss came thanks to a wraparound goal by Panthers forward Sam Reinhart.
Reinhart here on the near wing. Backpedals a bit towards center, then heads in over the Toronto line, up the right side, a long shot wide. Rims around, Anton Lundell down behind the net. Reinhart wraps it around, he scores! Sam Reinhart, the overtime winner!
Despite finally advancing past the first round for the first time since 2004, the Leafs have failed to register a win in the second round this year. The Leafs face off against Florida this Wednesday in a possible elimination game for Toronto. The Seattle Kraken continued their impressive postseason play with a dominant 7-2 victory over the Dallas Stars. Jordan Eberle got things kicked off for the Kraken as he scored the opening goal of the game after the puck was shot off the face of Dallas defenseman Miro Heiskanen.
Now Matty Beniers, high slot, Corsier shooting, that falls, Heiskanen, Eberle puts in a rebound, scores! The initial shot catching Miro Heiskanen right in the face, and it falls right to Jordan Eberle.
With the win, Seattle has taken a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 will be in Seattle this Tuesday. Canadian figure skater Piper Gillies has recently announced that she received treatment for stage 1 ovarian cancer. Gillies and her dancing partner Paul Poirier competed just last season at the World Championships. Gillies says that despite leaving competition, she is proud of the accomplishments of her and her partner.
It was really just to kind of protect myself and let myself focus on what I wanted to, and that was finishing the season off strong and medaling at Worlds.
Gillies will be providing updates on her condition today. World-famous golfer Tiger Woods has been accused of sexual harassment by his ex-girlfriend, Erica Herman. Herman was in a 6-year relationship with Woods up until October of 2022. Herman recently accused Tiger of forcing her to sign a non-disclosure agreement as well as sexually harassing her at her job in a South Florida restaurant. Reporter Eva Pilgrim has more.
Court papers detail a scheme Woods created, telling Herman the two were taking a weekend trip to the Bahamas. But at the airport, she claims a lawyer repping Woods said she would never see Mr. Woods again, had been locked out of the house, and could not return. She would not even be able to see the children or her pets again.
Wyndham Clark has earned his first career win on the PGA Tour with a 4-shot victory over Xander Sheffield. Clark finished at 19 under 265 at the Wells Fargo Championship, setting a record as the second lowest score to par in tournament history. After the game, Clark commented on his performance.
I honestly had pretty much every part of my game clicking. I drove it really good most of the week. I really made some nice putts yesterday and today, some clutch putts when I needed to, and then my short game was there when I needed it.
With the win, Clark has earned a spot in the British Open and advanced to the 31st spot in the world rankings. The Phoenix Suns tied their 7-game series last night with a 129-124 win over the Denver Nuggets. Despite a dominant performance from Denver center Nikola Jokic, who dropped 53 points, the Nuggets were not able to secure the win. Jokic also made headlines after elbowing Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia, which has sparked debate on whether he will be receiving supplemental discipline from the league. Jokic commented on the hard-fought series post-game.
A lot of guys are stepping up and making good nights or big nights, whatever. So, and it's interesting series. Hopefully we can protect.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
That's all your sports updates for this morning. Thanks for listening. I'm Adam Kloss, 1680 The
Bollywood, you know, is completely larger than life. It's lots of colors, it's loud, you wear jewelries, and automatically it gives that sense of, oh, I want to be a part of this. My name is Rohan De Silva, and I have been with Shamak for almost 32 years now. This is where I feel like I have found my purpose. If I can make a difference with just one person's life, I feel like, okay, I've done something that I'm supposed to do, meaningful, or any purpose that needs to be done in that particular day.
Pure joy is what I find from Bollywood dancing, and there's a lot of storytelling, so I get to learn a lot about the story and the people behind the dance, which is also really, really fun. It's been a really fun learning adventure for me as well.
A lot of students come and tell me, Rohan, I felt nice. I felt good. Now I feel like I can go back and I can tackle what I need to tackle again. So at some point or some place, even if it is like a 5% strength that they get to go out and deal with something, I think Bollywood does a great experience because it's a great escape. Side, left, side, hard, away, swing, drop. Getting it? One more time.
Shamak is a safe space for me. And I was suffering from postpartum depression, and Shamak really helped. These people were like very motivating, and that's how I think I even came out of depression through dance and through Shamak. And I can explore all my, like the way my body moves. There is no inhibitions.
I look forward to the classes. There is a community that they build together, which is why I have been with them, because they have like sense of belonging. They feel like family to you, which is what I look forward to when I'm coming to my Sunday classes. And we are like a small family. We hang out together. We go for lunches. We go for dinners. And I feel like when you're in a country where you don't have people, that community really helps.
Shamak is community. Since we all met each other through online classes, now I know her family, and it's our tight community. And it just taught us like how to be positive. You know, if you're going through a low phase, like just come dance and you feel great.
The joy of dance is like nothing else. And that's something that I've really, really noticed. I look forward to it every time I come, and I feel better, lighter, more positive after I've danced.
The Victory Arts Foundation is what we believe in is to giving it back to the community. We encourage a lot of parents even in our classes to tell them that if you have kids who are challenged, bring them to class. Free of cost. We've never asked them to pay anything, and another instructor will be part of that throughout with that person. We just give them empowerment.
Dance is meaningful when it's inclusive and when it is accessible to people. So no matter what backgrounds they come from, everyone should have access to dance and the power and joy that dance brings. My name is Suragini Ravindran, and I've been a volunteer with Shamak's Victory Arts Foundation since 2003. It's a global movement, started very organically with just a few students, and then it became like a huge hit because, we had kids, grandparents, housewives, people, who never thought about doing Western dance in India. It's not just about giving back, it's just about, being meaningful, making meaningful connections, reaching out in the community to people you wouldn't meet otherwise, and I think that really changed my whole outlook and on what we should be doing in the community.
I feel more happy to be with all my friends, yeah.
Sometimes I did mistake the steps all, and my teacher there told me that I did a very good job. So I'm pretty happy for me.
What do you like the most about being on stage, Nick?
I like to smile, I like to laugh, and my friends are very joyful.
Even when you see them walk into dance class, right? When they walk in with their arms open, like, we're here, this is our space, and this is where we're going to shine. And it is a place where everyone feels they belong.
Are you guys excited?
Yeah!
We're gonna get started, guys, so find your space. My name is Andrea Yu, and I am a volunteer instructor with Victory Arts Foundation. Arms. A sense of community, a sense of belonging, and a sense of doing something that, you've heard it from our students, being active, feeling the joy of dance, feeling the joy of music, and getting to share a different culture than maybe people wouldn't think that you'd be familiar with.
She's more confident in going out and doing a lot of other things out in the community as well. So it's been really great for her.
We've always set up programs welcoming people to just come and have a good time and be themselves. When they performed on stage, it was the same difference and the same high moment and high feeling that someone gets when they feel like a superstar.
We're just out there to really appreciate what we can do for ourselves. At the end of the day, it's about loving the experience and loving ourselves through that experience. I always come back because at the end of the day, I'm always accepted. I'm always welcome back, and that's the beauty of this.
Life without Bollywood for me, I think would be just a normal life. If I've experienced Bollywood and I've been a part of Bollywood and I've been a part of movies and I've been a thing, I've seen what it is. For me, I think I would be like completely brain dead. Like I would just be going through life as a routine. Like there would be no, like I wouldn't look up to anything else. It is exciting. It keeps me going. I'm looking forward to life with Bollywood.
We respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations.
All right.
Get ready, on your toes.
Oh,
Good save. All right.
Growing up, like native tournaments was like a big thing for my parents, and they're the ones that showed me how to play soccer.
As much as Penelope Sparrow is on track to reaching new levels of professional soccer, she does not forget where it all came from.
And they'd bring me around until I got to a point where I was 4 years old, and we put on a pair of cleats and started playing. And I'd be there right by their side, learning with them. And that's kind of where I started. And it just kept going on. I got put in a couple leagues growing up, and I just grew to love it. I was about 13, and that's when I knew I truly loved the sport. Like, it was more than just kicking the ball, like you said. It was more of like a family, us together.
So to welcome you to our territory, which is known as UBC, which is known as Vancouver.
For Thompson Nelson, it's important for him to reflect on his roots while mentoring the next generation of Indigenous athletes.
It was just built into our family. And so from the time I could walk, my dad was throwing a soccer ball at me and just go out and have fun. And he was a traveling kind of traditional artist, merchant salesman, so we'd go to all the soccer tournaments across Vancouver Island, as well as over here on the mainland in the Indigenous circuit. So I just grew up around watching it, playing it, and just watching every aspect of it. And so I really fell in love with it, and every morning I'd go and just watch with them.
Both Thompson and Penelope are currently working with Hope and Health, coaching the younger generation at the UBC Thunderbird Stadium.
Hope and Health is a sport for social impact organization that works specifically with Indigenous children and youth and their communities to develop life and leadership skills. It's about creating a program that's accessible within Indigenous communities. As a result of colonization, programs haven't been accessible, nor have they been created that are culturally safe for Indigenous children and youth. So we wanted to close that gap. We really have been working on creating the pathway from those young, talented athletes that aspire to go pro or play to an elite level as high as they can go. When we had the opportunity to consider to take ownership over the League One BC Varsity FC team, it just made total sense that that would allow us to create that piece, which is the semi-professional, high-performance level. So then we can work with our communities as young as 3, 5 as little champions, all the way through their journey to Natsama FC.
Varsity FC was run by UBC Athletics, but Hope and Health purchased the rights and has rebranded as Natsama FC. Perhaps due to a lack of representation, many Indigenous athletes struggle on their journeys, often giving up.
So we're on the Musqueam field, where I grew up to love soccer. I always feel safe here, comfortable. I know when I've had a long day or a hard day, I try to do other things like art, track, all the other sports, but soccer was always something that I couldn't live without. When they think of soccer, they don't think of us, and obviously that's very hard because growing up, that was my FIFA. Going to tournaments, watching it, it was my FIFA. Like, that was my World Cups. Watching them play, it was like other players I couldn't see in TV. And the kind of passion and like support we have, it should be noticed. You don't see any native players, obviously. And it was just a battle. It's just like, am I trying, like, am I doing enough? Am I gonna achieve anything? Like, I didn't see anybody like me. So it was obviously really tough. It's just like, am I there for nothing? Am I doing this all for nothing? Like, there's nobody, I had nobody to like look up to.
One significant kind of moment for me was in high school. I was about 14.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hi, my name is Isaac Newson, and welcome to the 11:30 morning news. Starting in BC, where today in a press conference, the BC Housing Minister announced an audit on a housing company, Atira. Atira has been found misallocating assets and deleting key evidence. David Eby called for an audit to be made on the Housing Ministry of BC last March, and the information is only being made public today. The Canadian Liberal Party has renewed its multi-million-dollar federal gun and gang violence program. Early this morning, Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino made the announcement that the plan is to invest hundreds of millions into the program.
Be distributed to the provinces and territories for the purpose of giving law enforcement the additional people, resources, and supports that they need to get the job done and to get the job done safely.
The federal government introduced the program in 2017 in order to tackle rising gun violence and gang activity in Canada. Hundreds gathered in Orillia, Ontario, hometown of singer and songwriter Gordon Lightfoot, to mark the passing of the Canadian musician. The performer was known for his poetic lyrics on songs such as "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" and "If Only You Could Read My Mind." John Robbins came to the show with his wife and entourage of friends. Robbins says he's been seeing Gordon Lightfoot all of his life.
We've seen him in Massey Hall, we've seen him in Sault Ste. Marie. In fact, when the Edmund Fitzgerald sunk, we lived in Sault Ste. Marie. So it brings back memories of the storm, which was so bad that night.
Lightfoot died on Monday at age of 24. And now moving south of the border, a driver of an SUV that crashed into a crowd of people at a bus stop in Texas killed 8 and has been charged with manslaughter. Brownsville Police Chief Felix Sauceda identified the driver as a 34-year-old man.
George Alvarez is a Brownsville local with an extensive rap sheet. He has been formally charged and arraigned with 8 counts of manslaughter, 10 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Authorities believe Alvarez lost control after running a red light yesterday morning and plowed into a crowd of Venezuelans outside a migrant center. Switching internationally now, where a New York jury hearing is hearing closing arguments from the lawyer for writer Jean Carroll. Carroll has said that Trump raped her in a department store in 1996. After Trump heard about the allegations, more followed, says Carroll's lawyer.
The burden, of course, is on E. Jean Carroll to show that Trump battered her, and the jury will have to consider whether it was rape, as she asserts, whether it was sexual assault, whether it was forcible touching, and then the jury will consider whether statements like "she's not my type" and "liar" and "con job" and "nut job" and "hoax" and all the other things that he said about her amount to defamation.
Now, Carroll is seeking compensation for the defamation. Going overseas now, Ukrainian air defenses have shot down 35 Iranian-made drones over Kiev in Russia's latest attack. Kiev Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said he's happy with the anti-missile system and how it worked.
Kamikaze drones fly to direction in our hometown, and thanks to anti-missile system, everyone was shot down.
Drone wreckage damaged a 2-story apartment building, and falling debris injured more than 5 people in the capital. Turkey presidential elections on the weekend are shaping up to be the strongest challenge to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in his 20 years as leader, and complaints are growing about the fairness of the votes. Erdogan receives more coverage from state-controlled media than his opponent. The government has also extended its reach over social media, and the opposition says the State Election Council sides with the ruling party in disputes, leading to fears of electoral irregularities. And to the weather now, where we can be expecting a full week of sunshine in Vancouver. Monday to Sunday this week is full of high teens and low 20s in temperature, and we're expecting to have sun all day, every day. So go out, hit the beach, and don't forget your sunscreen. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Isaac Newson for 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
When the waters hit the Fraser Valley, it left people's homes and livelihoods underwater. There are many who are still waiting for their government assistance. Nick Warmerdam, the owner of the Tulip Festival, is one of these people.
I thought I had flood insurance, and we found out after the flood that the insurance didn't cover flood, so there's a bit of we're still in discussions with our insurance agent about that one.
As disastrous as the 2021 floods were, This was not the first time the Sumas Prairie has been hit.
There was a flood here from the Nooksack River 30 years ago. When that flood happened, the water didn't get past the dike that stops it from coming in here. So for the last 30 years, all of the people, the farmers in this area have been waiting for the government to do something, and we're still waiting.
The Sumas Prairie is located in what is called a floodplain. As a result, the homes do not get flood insurance. Robert Larson, the project manager for EB Waters, says these homes have a hand in this type of disaster.
The first problem has been that we've put those things in the way of the water. When we look at some of the issues that happened in Abbotsford, those issues happened because we decided to put things in the floodplain and then we protected ourselves from the flood. But then when those protections failed, there was catastrophic flooding.
Despite this whole experience, Nick is trying to remain positive and encourage others to do the same.
It was it wasn't a nice thing to have to go through, but I'm still here and I'm still alive and I'm still healthy. It's important not to let something like this get to you too much, because otherwise it does a lot more damage to you.
As a prevention process begins, the hope is that this will prevent another devastation. Brooke Jensen in Abbotsford for BCIT Magazine.
Planes are arriving and departing from YVR Airport as frequently 4 years ago. With the worst of the pandemic now behind, passengers are filling the terminals of the airport once again. It is also being expanded while still providing the same quality experience known to passengers.
So not only do we marry art and culture with the operational realities for travelers, but also we've got the right people in the right places to make sure that we're supporting travelers at every step of the way.
Recently, YVR announced a new plan in response to criticism of how airports around the country handled major weather events like snowstorms last winter.
We're seeing our airline partners use different size of aircraft and change their schedules accordingly. So we're seeing same numbers of passengers, but more aircraft on our airside than before.
Before the pandemic in July 2019, 2.6 million passengers went through the airport. That number went down to 332,000 during the pandemic, but it's now back up to 2.1 million passengers as of last year. The airport is almost back at pre-pandemic levels, but they have to go through a few more challenges in the next few months. Flight attendants from all major airlines in the country are fighting for changes to how they are paid. CP's airline division held rallies at airports around Canada, including Vancouver, to express their demands.
What we want to get for our message out is flight attendants are safety professionals. We're the first and often last responders in the sky. When we're doing our safety duties and our other critical duties, and anything that's required from the employer, we expect to be paid.
Flight attendants want to remind both passengers and airlines of the importance of their role.
So we're responsible for the safety and security of the flight. So we do pre-flight checks, pre-flight briefings, we correlate with the pilots on certain issues in the aircraft, monitor laboratories, monitor for fire. We do all that kind of stuff in flight and on the ground.
Despite these ongoing protests, a full return to travel is on the horizon at the airport. And according to YVR, they are now more prepared to welcome back passengers after a challenging 3 years. I'm Jarrison Rochon in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
For nursing students, there is a lot of work to be done to make Indigenous patients feel comfortable in hospitals. BCIT has introduced a 12-week program for students to learn about the importance of Indigenous health. Florence Williams is an elder from Squamish Nation. She says hospitals can be an upsetting experience.
Because the healthcare system is an organization that kind of resembles residential school, that a lot of older Indigenous patients get triggered when they walk into a hallway that's long, like this one that I'm looking at. And once they get triggered, they shut down.
The program aims to make students more aware of Indigenous issues. Pearl Van Dyke, a nursing instructor, says there's growing importance for students to prioritize Indigenous health.
This particular course that we're teaching is its new rendition of the course. It used to be taught within 6 weeks, and we have now extended it to 12 weeks recognizing and prioritizing the importance of this as we move towards the indigenizing the whole program.
When the students leave the program and see Indigenous patients, they will know how to treat them. Kobe Smith in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Volunteers for the Yarrow Society Nourishing Hearts food program pack and deliver groceries for low-income, non-English-speaking seniors every Monday.
One of the things that's really meaningful for me is being able to help package foods that they might be very familiar with and might have loved and enjoyed cooking with all their lives. So today there's su choy, there's bok choy, there's yu choy, all the vegetables that are familiar and therefore can be really comforting for people who receive them.
The grocery program started during the pandemic, but last year, due to both inflation and the closure of many local grocers, it grew from 22 seniors to 77. Celine Aznani, the Yarrow Society Food Programs Coordinator, says she has relaunched the program after finding they couldn't keep up with the demand.
Because of limited space, because of limited volunteers and time, as well as money, then we really had to figure out how we're gonna deliver to 77 seniors. I decided that maybe we had to stop the program now because it's just too much to handle and we just don't have enough funding and funds for it.
However, Aznani says they have found a solution. Now they deliver to only 30 seniors, and the others who are more mobile will come into the office to pick up their food.
We prioritize those that are homebound, as well as those living in areas that where it's harder for them to really get groceries at a walking distance.
Aznani says the Nourishing Hearts food program, which is culturally appropriate and free to seniors, is the only of its kind in the Chinatown area.
Hard to even find culturally appropriate groceries now. I think in Chinatown, we're losing a lot of grocers.
With the Yarrow Society food program changing shape and becoming permanent, it will now be looking for more volunteers. Caitlin No in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're red. Maddie Jean is a marine mammal trainer at the Vancouver Aquarium. She works every day with these four: Hope, Salt Spring, Seashell, and Steepston. But for now, her team's work will look a little different.
So for their move, our vet team does a lot of blood draws and health, just health workups for them, just to make sure that they're A-okay to be traveled, and that if they have the smallest thing wrong with them, we actually won't ship them. We'll make sure that their health is 100%.
The penguins will be joining a breeding program in Edmonton to protect their shrinking population. But Ben Platsko, another trainer, says the penguins have been an important part of the aquarium.
I guess it's now been around a decade or so that we've had them. They've definitely been an animal that has attracted a lot of people throughout the years, and it would be really nice to see penguins return in the future.
And visitors at the aquarium agree.
Well, I feel sad that I can't see them again for a little while, but I hope they come back.
It sounds like there's good motivation for them to go. It's better for the penguins, and there'll be more penguins in the long term, so I'm not upset in that regard, but I'd love for them to come back, of course.
When I was 7, I came to this aquarium and watched the penguins in the little glass compartment, and I think I'm going to miss them very much.
The exact date and location in Edmonton for the penguins' move has yet to be announced, but Jean is already missing them.
I could go and feed a sea lion all the fish in the world and they'll eventually love me. But for these guys, they're self-regulating animals. They literally choose if they like you or not. I'm sad to see them go, absolutely. But again, I'm so happy that they'll be with other birds.
There are hopes for penguins to fill this habitat again, but for now, the aquarium is looking at using it to showcase other marine life. Jeremy Lee.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
At the end of January of 2023, British Columbia decriminalized the possession of small amounts of some hard drugs. This is meant to help with the province's overdose crisis, but the government's policy making has received some negative feedback along with some positive. Jake McGrill takes us to Joshua House, an old male recovery center in Chilliwack, that it bases treatment on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and the teachings of Jesus Christ. To hear from some who have fought addiction during this current health crisis.
So this is where we eat all our meals together. We have an industrial kitchen. We get inspected all the time. And this is where we prepare all the meals for all the guys. And then we all sit together as a group. Everybody eats together.
That's Ed Malicki, a volunteer here at Joshua House and part of its leadership team. He came here for a second time 16 months ago after he relapsed. He's battled alcoholism and drug addiction for 3 decades. This place is a very meaningful one for him, and instead of taking the option of moving after becoming clean again to a second stage townhouse in Abbotsford that's more integrated into the wider community, he stayed here. That's an option for everyone at the center.
When I first came to recovery, the big failure was, okay, it's a 30-day program or a 60-day program or a 90-day program, and when you completed it, unless you had a family or somebody to take you in, they ended up making you homeless. You're kicked out. Now you've just done a treatment program and you're kicked out to the street. How do you think that's going to go for most addicts? Doesn't go well.
Joshua House is pretty isolated, nestled deep in the woods of Chilliwack. We're talking no cell service deep. Its main buildings are arranged in a ring on a grass field, connected by a wide concrete path. In this loop there's the kitchen, the main office, a couple rec rooms, and the cabins. There's 45 beds, 7 men to a cabin. The setup feels sorta like a summer camp. And like a camp, you gotta make sure your cabin is in top shape.
Okay, this is what a typical cabin looks like, if you guys want to come on in. So basically, this is what a room looks like. This is a messy one. We inspect it usually once a week, and this wouldn't pass. Can't have clothes on the floor and stuff, but you know, do what you can.
There's a lot to see as Ed shows us around the whole site. There's the rooms where the men study from the Bible in group sessions, a gym with some donated equipment and a basketball hoop, and a garden where they grow their own vegetables. They also raise pigs. For some food, not for friends. Many people stay at Joshua House for a while after they're clean, and it's because of the support they receive through designated counseling as well as from the other men staying there.
A safe place. A safe place disconnected from the world, where you don't have to worry about anything. All your needs are met. Your wants might not be met, but your needs are met. And you don't have to worry about anything except working on yourself and your relationship with God, right?
You might think that someone who is a recovering addict and who wants to help others recover might be a fan of BC's new decriminalization policy. But Ed isn't happy with the attitude the province is taking towards the overdose crisis.
We're spending billions of dollars on the downtown east side and it's only getting worse. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the harm reduction policy just because I see it as a failed experiment. And I'm not against it, it saves lives. But also we got to balance that with, like, what are we going to do for them? Are we going to offer treatment options? Are we going to offer more detoxes beds, which we haven't done, right? And to me, that's a real failure, right?
That feeling is shared by Greg Carter, who has been a resident at Joshua House for the last 11 months.
I've been part of every program in BC, the heroin program. I was on the fentanyl patch, methadone, and all it did was I just ended up using more and more and more the more they gave me.
Greg credits Joshua House's treatment for why he's currently clean and believes that if he'd stayed in the city, he might not still be alive today.
I was on death's door when I came in here. I've been 30 years at doing hardcore drugs, and I just had enough. I feel really good now. Yeah, really good. Yeah, this place saved my life.
Joshua House receives some funding from the province, but has to get the majority of its budget from organizing charitable fundraising events and support from local churches. Ed thinks it's sad that they have to rely on private donations, given the work that they do.
Financing from the ministry is just not there. Hellholes get $3,300 a month. On SROs in downtown east side get $3,300 a month, and all they do is house them and give them safe drug supplies. We get $1,100, and we supply counseling, food, everything. We meet every need.
The feeling that funding and resources are lacking when it comes to treating the overdose crisis isn't only felt by those suffering from addiction.
According to the union representing paramedics in BC, just last Wednesday, a crew beginning their shift discovered that they were the only staffed ambulance in the entire city of Vancouver at the hour of 6:30 in the morning.
That's from a global news broadcast last February. Those staffing problems still very much exist today. Troy Clifford, the provincial president of the Ambulance Paramedics of BC, says they are still 1,000 paramedics short of being able to work at full capacity.
We're definitely seeing increases in workloads and call volumes. There's no question. And it's putting pressure on our system because we are already short-staffed. At any given time, we can have upward 20-30% of our ambulances parked because we don't have paramedics to work.
Troy still works in the field on top of his role as union president, and he's very proud of the life-saving work that he and his colleagues do. But it's hard work, as the number of overdose calls continue to climb. Currently, upwards of 8 people die every day from overdose in the province.
Every day, it's part of what we do. It's no longer a crisis for us. We expect to have overdoses or see the impacts of overdoses every day. And that's just part of our regular work. And that's sad that we've gotten to this point.
When it comes to the province's decriminalization policy, Troy believes it's a positive step towards treating addiction as an illness and an injury rather than as a criminal matter.
I can say that as a profession and a union and as a paramedic, that anything that really supports safe usage, and if we can minimize the impacts on life and death or patients, that's a good thing. That's what we want them to do, is not feel pressured not to call for help or ask for help.
Hey guys.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. Everybody in Genesis, get back in here.
Yeah, group time, gentlemen.
It's not 12:15 yet.
Joshua House is built on responding right when people ask for help. If they receive a call and have an open bed, they immediately find the fastest way to meet the person and take them to the center. Those who work there want to welcome as many as they can.
You know, you get some hope when you come here. I think that's the big thing about this place is hope, right? Because when you're hopeless and you get some hope and people actually seem to care about you, it's not usually a place you want to leave, right?
Of course, some people do leave when they want to take that next step towards coming back to the wider community. This time, to hopefully remain clean.
Well, be safe, Matthew. I'm going to miss you, buddy.
Yeah, I miss you too, Ed. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I'll call you. Yep. Say hi to Josh Todd. I talk to him on Messenger all the time.
Awesome, I will do.
Matthew's one of the men. He's moving on to our townhouses today.
For 1680 The Crow, with my co-producer Alicia Nolasco, I'm Jake McGrail.
The church is a place for a community to come collectively worship, and holds within its walls a variety of music, acting as a unifying factor. The instrument most capable of supporting the powerful voices of choirs and hymns is the organ, and it takes a special person to master that craft. Ben Bugera has more on one of these people.
Madeleine Clausen has been the organist at Knox United Church for almost 10 years, and her passion for the music and the instrument she plays is evident to everyone who comes on Sunday mornings. She took us on a tour and showed us what makes the largest instrument in the world work.
This is a very short episode on how the pipe organ works. This is where everything starts for the pipe organ in modern times, in pre-electric times. We have in this container a very large propeller which goes around and round and round and round and round and round and round and creates a lot of air.
From the motor room, we head into the pipe organ chamber to see the full mass and majesty of the instrument.
These air channels go to separate wooden boxes, and you can see here's one of them. This one is quite small, and on top of each wooden box is set a group of pipes. They go right up to the ceiling. Those are the big pedal pipes. And there are other pipes of different shapes and sizes throughout this entire room.
From there, Madeleine shares her knowledge of the organ and its history.
At least by the 11 and 1200s, there are pictures of people playing a small portable organ, and the organ would be probably no bigger than an accordion, and it would have keys, and it didn't have what we know as white keys and black keys. It just had white keys, and it would be, the portable ones would be mostly made of wood. the wooden pipes, it would be of course, a very fluty sound because that was the name of it. For the smaller organ like this, you would only need one person to pump it. Usually you see a picture of someone playing the organ, and then on the other side you'd see the maid or the servant pumping 2 hand bellows, and they would be small bellows, no bigger than a gallon milk carton, that we would know if you're relating that to the size of something.
For Knox's minister, the Reverend Dr. Richard Chung, music is the language of creation and the force that brings us together. He says the music played by Madeleine takes those listening on a spiritual journey, connecting the congregation under the same beautiful sound.
But organ hasn't really changed, and it's one of the most awesome sound you could ever hear. Maybe right after human voice, right? Can you even imagine hearing a huge pipe organ playing in a huge cathedral church? It's awesome, and it brings you near to the awe and the fear of God in the sound. And when I say fear, I don't mean afraid of God, but it's like you're awesome as you look up to God, right? The organ sound and organ music has a connection to the past for young people. So, I think many young people are at this point, and for the last few decades, they've been trying to get to their root. And part of what Madeleine or her organ music does is to helping people to connect through their sound. So, there are people out there who really appreciate organ music, and so for our church, I think it's great.
For Madeleine, her music is a way of bringing people together through music and spirituality.
Repertoire has been written and developed for organists to use in churches, and people wonder sometimes, why do you play this and why do you play that? Some of the pieces are based on favorite hymns, and they're really there to entice or encourage people to come in and listen and to find some grounding in their spiritual life. The other pieces sometimes can be used as a devotional after a sermon or a big postlude. It's a really good way to just cheer people up, prepare them for the week, put a little hop in their step, and make them feel really happy as they go home.
For lifelong musicians like Madeleine, the passion and love for the organ can be heard through her music, for churchgoers, and for all lovers of music everywhere. For producer Anthony Atanasov, I'm Ben Bugera with 1680 The Crow.
Dogs and their owners are coming together at a local dog library in Vancouver. Jerson Erasian has more.
Laureline and her Australian Shepherd Skye are one of many regulars at the local dog library in the Vancouver neighborhood of Hastings Sunrise.
I met Jacqueline on a walk before she had started this little library, and she was instrumental in bringing the community together. There was a lot of people during COVID and that got little puppies, so to socialize them, and I think honestly it socialized the people, the two-leggers, more than anything.
Jacqueline opened the dog library because she believes that the relationship between dogs and people brings the community together. Also, they bring joy and create a sense of wonder, play, and everyday magic. While her main occupation in the day is a therapist, she uses her spare time to manage the dog library. The idea of the dog library began when she put a bowl of water outside on the sidewalk during a warm, sunny day.
And a little water station, and then that turned into a blueberry dunking station. She'd throw blueberries in another pot, and the dogs would.
From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Max Mashman. This is 1680 The Crow, and these are your news headlines.
First off, officials are urging residents to evacuate the areas around two out-of-control wildfires in northeastern BC, following reports that some people have stayed put or even ventured towards the blaze. Leonard Hybart, the Peace River District Regional Board Chair, cautions that anyone who is ignoring the evacuation orders are impeding the response to the fires and putting their own lives at risk. As of this morning, there are 4 fires of note raging in range of the Prince George Fire Center. With strong winds coming, the fires are expected to grow over the course of the day. BC is not the only province dealing with wildfires. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith will be speaking with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to discuss possible federal help for the crews battling the wildfires in the province. Wildfires which number in the hundreds. Thousands of people in Alberta have already been ordered to leave their homes, but some evacuation orders, like the one on the 84-strong town of Edson, have been lifted. Defense Minister Anita Anand told reporters that Canadian Armed Forces are always ready to help.
I know that my colleague Minister Blair has been in touch with the Alberta government in terms of potential ways in which we can assist, and we will remain ready to receive any request for assistance.
And in more wildfire news, Saskatchewan has lifted evacuation orders for several communities in the north of the province. Those living in the Saulteaux First Nations, La Loche, and Creewater Riverdene First Nations are allowed to return to their homes. Community leaders on social media are saying they have been told the fires are contained. The fires near Saulteaux First Nation reached 5,000 hectares, while the fires near La Loche and Clearwater Riverdene Nation reached 266 hectares. More than 200 people from the communities were evacuated from their homes last week. Leaders say damage to properties has been minimal. In more local news, Vancouver's empty home tax could come down from 5% to 3% after a recommendation from city staff to bring the tax down. The reduction would be for the 2023 vacancy year, with the overall goal of improving the fairness and effectiveness of the tax. Critics from the opposition maintain the reduction is a move in the wrong direction. Reporter Richard Davis joins us to talk about the tax and what it could mean for the city. So, Richard, what would this tax decrease mean for Vancouver's housing market?
Well, Max, I just spoke to Andrei Pavlov. He's an economics professor at SFU, who says the empty homes tax has actually had the opposite effect than what was intended. He did say when the policy was put in place, the city gained approximately 6,000 units, but the tax also cost the market 2,000 new units. He says with a mixture of red tape and other taxes like this at both the municipal and provincial levels, it's becoming costly, hard, and risky to build housing in Vancouver, which forces up market rates.
All right. Thanks so much, Richard. And in more Alberta news, arrests have been made following an emergency alert in a rural central Alberta community. Alberta RCMP say they have made an arrest in connection to an emergency alert that was issued Sunday. The alert warning of an armed and dangerous man in central Alberta. Mounties lifted an order to stay inside today for Makowick and a rural area in Ponacoat County. More than 100 kilometers south of Edmonton, police say a report from the public of a suspicious person resulted in RCMP finding the suspect. RCMP has not released the name of the person arrested and has not announced any charges. In national news, an Ontario man who threw gravel at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during a 2021 campaign rally has been sentenced to 90 days of house arrest. Don Kelly, in association with the Canadian Press, has more.
Justice Kevin McHugh handed 26-year-old Shane Marshall a 90-day conditional sentence and put him on probation for a year. He said Marshall's serious assault on Trudeau was not an expression of his political beliefs, but a manifestation of mob mentality that, if left unchecked, allows anarchy to prevail. Marshall pleaded guilty to common assault in March. Trudeau wasn't hurt when some of the stones hit him as he boarded a bus leaving a protest mart event in London just weeks before the election. Don Kelly, the Canadian Press.
In political news, Prime Minister Trudeau is saying he does not expect his government to make a move on electoral reform. This despite his party membership calling for a national council to examine the issue, and campaign promises from Trudeau himself during his 2015 run for office. Over the weekend, grassroots Liberals voted in favor of a resolution that asks the government to create a national citizen assembly on electoral reform, but Trudeau claims he is focused on economic matters. Trudeau says he will only pursue changing how Canadians vote if there is a broad push for a particular system.
There is no consensus, and I was not, in 2015 to 2019, going to use my majority to change unilaterally the way we elect people in Canada. I continue to hope that we will one day reach consensus on that.
Defense Minister Anita Anand is not denying a media report that Canada is looking to become a part of a trilateral military and intelligence sharing treaty between Australia, the UK, and the United States known as AUKUS. Anand was asked directly whether Canada has officially requested to join the alliance, to which she responded.
We are highly interested in continuing to work with our allies, including Australia, the United States, and the UK, in terms of our capabilities in advanced technologies, in innovation, in AI, and quantum technologies.
Florida may study whether a radioactive waste byproduct of fertilizer production can be used to help build roads. The proposal for the study still awaits a signature from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The proposal would task the state with conducting a study about the use of gypsum in road construction. The American EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, approved the use for the material in American road construction in 2020, but revised the decision after President Joe Biden took office. And in more American news, the Writers Guild of America continues their strike. Chief among their concerns, AI. ABC's Mike Dabutsky with more.
ABC News Tech Trends. The writers' strike continues with artificial intelligence at the center of negotiations. After this. AI programs like ChatGPT have the ability to churn out feature-length scripts with just a prompt. Alyssa Wilkinson is a senior culture reporter with Vox. She says that's a concern for writers.
If an executive decides they're just going to use some tool to generate a script and just never use a writer.
But she says a more imminent concern is not that writers will be replaced, rather AI will force their role to shrink.
Someone using AI to generate a script and then getting a writer at a greatly reduced rate to punch it up and make it better.
Plus, she says a lot of popular TV, everything from Hallmark movies to police procedurals, relies heavily on formula, something AI can easily replicate.
The fear isn't so much that AI will be better than humans as far as the output. The fear is that it won't matter because the audience doesn't care.
With Tech Trends, I'm Mike Dabutsky, ABC News.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the decision to expel a Chinese diplomat over alleged attempts to threaten a Conservative MP is being made very, very carefully. Rob Westgate with the Canadian Press has more.
The PM offered the update this morning from London, England, where he was attending the coronation of King Charles. He says his government needs to consider potential Chinese backlash and what that would mean for the safety of Canadians and the prosperity of the country. Tory MP Michael Chong found out last week that CSIS, Canada's spy agency, had information in 2021 that Beijing was looking at ways to intimidate him and his extended family in Hong Kong. Rob Westgate, the Canadian Press.
Both an opposition war monitor and a pro-government radio station are reporting airstrikes over southern Syria have killed one of the country's most well-known drug dealers. The Associated Press's Charles de Ledesma with more.
The first strike hit a home near the Jordanian border, killing Mahai Ramthan, his wife and 6 children, according to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The monitoring group and Sham FM then said another strike in a southern province hit a building thought to have been a drug factory. The strike also comes a day after Arab governments reinstated Syria to the Arab League. As the Arab nations gradually rekindle ties with Damascus, one of the key topics of discussion has been Syria's illicit drug industry, which has flourished during the ongoing conflict, especially the illegal amphetamine Captagon. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And now for the weather. It's expected to be overcasted.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. I'm Jake McGrail with your Crow Sports News at 12:15. The Edmonton Oilers take on the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 3 of their second-round series at 5:30 p.m. tonight. After losing Game 1, the Oilers responded in a big way in Game 2, beating Vegas 5-1 on the road to even the series. Edmonton coach Jay Woodcroft praised veteran forward Derek Ryan, who has just 1 point in the postseason, for the invaluable leadership he brings to the team.
I have nothing but a ton of respect for Derek Ryan. He's someone that might be unheralded in this room, but certainly is appreciated and valued by his teammates and coaching staff.
The Oilers are 2-1 at home in the playoffs this season. For NHL teams who didn't make the playoffs, tonight is still a big night. That's because Secaucus, New Jersey is hosting the draft lottery at 5 p.m. This draft can be called the Connor Bedard sweepstakes, as the North Vancouver native has been the presumptive first overall pick all year. Sadly for Canucks fans, it's highly unlikely he will suit up for his hometown team, as Vancouver has just a 3% shot at winning the first pick. In NBA news, the Denver Nuggets are waiting to see whether their star center Nikola Jokic will receive a suspension for Game 5 of their second-round series tomorrow night. During their series tying Game 4 loss in Phoenix last night, Jokic bumped Suns owner Matt Ishbia with his forearm during a sideline altercation. Ishbia said on Twitter this morning that he hopes Jokic is not punished for the incident. In the meantime, there are 2 playoff games on tonight. First, the Miami Heat look to take a 3-1 series lead at home over the New York Knicks, and then the Los Angeles Lakers look to do the same against the Golden State Warriors. Canadian figure skater Piper Gillis announced in an Instagram video that she's been treated for stage 1 ovarian cancer. This reveal explained why she and her ice dancing partner Paul Poirier took a leave of absence in the middle of last season. Gillis said that being able to take part at the World Championships in March felt like a massive victory.
It was really just to kind of protect myself and let myself focus on what I wanted to, and that was finishing the season off strong and medaling at Worlds. I know we got bronze, but for myself and I know for Paul, it really feels like we won gold because of just everything that we had been through just to even be there and perform.
Gillis decided to make her announcement now because today is World Ovarian Cancer Day. Over in Europe, Lionel Messi is back in training at PSG. The superstar was suspended by the club last week after he missed a practice due to flying to Saudi Arabia for a promotional trip. PSG has not officially stated that Messi's suspension is over, but the club posted a picture of him at their training ground on social media. This means he might be able to play on Saturday when PSG hosts Ajaccio. The Paris side lead Ligue 1 by 6 points with 4 matches remaining. In some more grave news, golf legend Tiger Woods has been accused of sexual harassment by former girlfriend Erica Herman. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has the latest in this court battle between Herman and Woods.
An attorney for Erica Herman, who dated Woods for nearly 6 years, writes in a new court filing, Woods decided to pursue a sexual relationship with his employee, then, according to him, forced her to sign an NDA about it or else be fired from her job. Woods' attorney responding to a previous filing saying Herman is a jilted ex-girlfriend who wants to publicly litigate specious claims in court rather than honor her commitment to arbitrate disputes in a confidential arbitration proceeding.
The couple ended their relationship in October of 2022. Moving now to horse racing, while attention turns to the Preakness Stakes in 2 weeks, this year's Kentucky Derby showed the danger the sport poses for its horses. Over the course of 10 days, 7 horses died at Churchill Downs, including Wild on Ice, who was set to participate in the main event. 5 of the 7 horses were put down after suffering massive injuries at the track, while the cause of death of the other 2 is yet to be determined. Officials at Churchill Downs said they have not found any noticeable pattern in what caused this spate of injuries. That was your sports news at 12:15. I'm Jake McGrail, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
On BCIT's 1680 The Crow.